Hello, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to Fit Nutrition Podcast. I am Tania Gustafson, your nutritionist and fitness coach here. So wherever you're watching in from today, thank you very much. And I am just wanting to come on here today and talk about something that really was hitting home with a lot of people the other day. I don't know if you saw my reel that I did the other day on about diabetes. So today we're going to dive in and talk about the signs of diabetes and what happens when we don't pay attention to those signs, right? Okay, because there's a lot of things out there, and sometimes we get information that we don't really want to hear about, and we tend to put those things on the back burner. The thing is, you can really get burnt when you do that. So, all right. So drop me a little note. Tell me where you're watching in from. If you're watching live or on the replay, thank you so much for taking the time here. Sorry that I got started a bit late here. Me and tech, right? Sometimes it's my friend and sometimes it just makes me work a little harder to get it done. So, all right. So we know here in our 8 weeks group in our family that we love our PFCs, and we love our PFCs because when we put them together in the right portions and the right frequencies, we stabilize our hormones and we balance blood sugar. And when we do that, we allow our body to be healthy. It's puts our body in homeostasis. It's that thing. It's a fancy scientific word for meaning that we're in balance, right? Everything is working how it should be. Your body's on cruise control. I like to say it's on cruise control, like when you're driving your car and you're driving down the highway in the summertime in the sun, and it's a beautiful day out and there's no traffic and you're on cruise control. It's a really pleasant, fun ride, right? You're going on a road trip. It's really comfortable. Your car is getting optimal gas mileage. It's just a great trip. And you hit downtown rush hour traffic, the nearest city, and it's like, oh man, it's not comfortable, and then your air conditioner maybe isn't working right, and you're just not comfortable, and all of those kinds of things. And that's what happens. We feel that discomfort in our body when we go out of that, when we go off of cruise control in our body and our blood sugar spikes or crashes, and that shows up in all of those metabolic diseases. So diabetes, pre-diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, even some cancers. There's a whole bunch of nasty things that can happen when we put our body out of balance. Now, of course, it's not going to happen if you do it one time, so don't be afraid to once in a while, have a treat or something, go off plan. But we're talking about for the long term, for most of the time that you live your life, right? We want to be doing things that serve our health goals, serve our body, help create health in our body so we can live our greatest health. I heard a great quote today. We don't want to just live longer if we're, being sick longer, right? We want to live longer, stronger, healthier, living our best health and enjoying life as we go. So what I want to talk a little bit about today was the diabetes, because it's really a big thing out there, and the statistics are really horrible on that. Like people are it's almost like 1 in 2 of people that are pre-diabetic or diabetic. 1 in 2 of people are overweight and obese, even higher than that. It's just the numbers keep climbing. So clearly what we're doing, as a population is not solving the problem. There's a small demographic of people that are getting healthier as they age, and you can join that group. It's not an exclusive club. And so part of what we teach here is all about the things that we're doing to create health in our body. A lot of people start because they want to lose weight. That's kind of the catalyst, it gets them motivated. They're not feeling comfortable in their clothes. They don't like the way they look in the mirror, or they're just feeling self-conscious, or they're just not feeling well, whatever it happens to be. That's kind of the little, light a fire underneath your butt that kind of makes you get going. But when we don't experience good health with that, when we are not feeling that we can maintain that, when we're not feeling good in our bodies, even though the number on the scale might have gone down, it's not something that you're likely to continue doing. So we focus on the health first, and then as a byproduct, the weight comes off, and then you've created this lifestyle that you can now maintain. And that is key to living longer and stronger and better, not just, surviving longer and being sick, because we don't want that, right? We already talked about that. So a lot of people, that are diabetic, they say, well, I just don't eat carbs. Well, let's just clarify that for a minute, because it's okay if you're pulling out all the processed things. Most people consider, bread, pasta, rice, muffins, all of those kinds of things. That's what they're calling carbs. In actuality, fruits and vegetables are our carbs too, right? Every food on the planet can be classified as either a protein, a fat, or a carb. So when you think about that, that's like everything you can put in your mouth can be classified as a protein, a fat, or a carb. So when we know how to put them together, you can minimize that carnage, because we don't want to spike our blood sugar. Repeatedly doing so is what puts us over the edge. Causes insulin resistance. It puts a strain on your pancreas and all of your organs, because the body's trying to get that down. You keep pushing it up and it keeps trying to push it back down. It's kind of like, you've got that ball in the pool and you're trying to hold it under, and you can't hold it under, and it pops up again, and then they push it down again, but there's always that pressure to pop up. What we want to do is have it so that, you're like we're still using the pool analogy, like a paddleboard. So it's kind of floating, where part of it's in the water, part of it's up here. You're kind of on that balanced plane. Okay. So if you're not combining those things in the right way, and you're spiking and crashing, something that happens in your body is called glycation. So your body will glycate, where it releases glucose, similar word. And so when it releases that glucose, we do need some of it to fuel our muscles. Absolutely. Right. And the liver and all of the things in our body. But when we have too much, then our body's releasing insulin to counteract all of that. And then when the spike goes up, your body's like, it's trying to, like, the ball is popping out. It's trying to push it back down. So it's like a fire hydrant or something trying to, put out the fire, because all of a sudden there's these alarm bells going off in your body that, hey, this is way up here. It should be down here somewhere. And so it's trying to do that. And so we glycate to squash the glucose, to bring it back down to normal. But when we do that, this is what happens. So the extra glucose that your body may be producing gets stored as fat. All right. So not a good thing, right? When your blood sugar spikes up, we've seen that graphic before. Let me just bring that up here. We can have a quick refresher in case you're new and you haven't watched the podcast before. Okay. So when you're here and you're spiking up, right? That's the alarm bells are going off to your body. We want to be in those nice middle zone right there. That's where I was referring to it as the, being on cruise control. Your metabolism is firing here. Your body naturally releases stored fat. You're protecting your lean muscle. Your cravings go down. Your energy goes up. It's a great place to be. And when you're not in there, the blood sugar spikes up and you can store fat, or your blood sugar drops and you're burning muscle. Okay. So there's that little visual for you. Got that? Okay. So when your body spikes up, right, then you're going to release that insulin. Your body's going to store it as fat. All right. So, and just a little aside, kids, as they're growing, we want to make sure that kids are following their PFCs every 3 as well, too, because fat cells are made and laid down when you are growing. So, I have talked to several women recently who have been lifetime dieters. They've started dieting, some as young as 10 years old. Their mom had them at Weight Watchers. That is not something we want to do to children. We want to educate them on healthy food and how to balance, not restricting them and telling them they can never eat this again. That creates a whole body self-image and then disordered eating. And so eating is something that we can't just eliminate out of our life. We have to eat. So we need to be able to do it in a healthy way. All right. So the next thing that happens after your body glycates is we release free radicals. So those are the things that run around in our body and damage the healthy cells. Okay. So they just go around and damage and zap and, pick at or whatever. And then that puts us at risk of metabolic disease. So like I said before, the high cholesterol, the obesity, the diabetes, pre-diabetic, stroke, cancer, high blood pressure, all of these things come from free radicals, which cause inflammation. So when your free radicals start running around, you get more free radicals, your inflammation goes up. Okay. Now, how do you know if you have inflammation? Well, if you're feeling puffy, if your face is puffy, if you have any pain or swelling or redness or heat or creakiness or discomfort, a disease, you're sick, maybe you're ill at the time, any and all of those, come from inflammation. Inflammation is the root cause of all disease. Now, inflammation in small bits, I just want to clarify this. Inflammation in small bits, acutely is good. It promotes healing. So you cut yourself, on the arm or on the hand or something, and it gets red and it gets a little bit hot sometimes. Sometimes it's a little swollen if you hit it too or whatever. But you kind of you clean it up and you put some ointment on it or whatever, and you leave it. And by the next day, hey, the redness is kind of gone and it's healing up and it starts to scab over, and then it just, clears up, your body heals itself, you're good to go. What happens, we've all maybe knocked off a scab or seen the little kid pick it or whatever, and we say, don't pick it, let it heal, right? It won't heal if you keep picking it. We know that. What happens if you pick it? Well, then it takes longer to heal, or you get a scar. Or if you keep picking it, it doesn't actually heal. Then it gets infected. Then it gets swollen and red again. Then it gets, maybe pussy and yucky. And then, you probably need some antibiotics, or you need to see a doctor because you created such a storm of inflammation. So that's chronic inflammation. So you have that visual, right? So think about chronic inflammation inside your body. It's the same idea. What is it doing in there? So we need to start doing things to limiting and stopping those free radicals as much as possible. We're not going to stop all of them because there is that aging process, and free radicals happen as we age. I mean, as we breathe in every breath, there's some cells that are dying, there's some cells that are growing. So that is a naturally occurring phenomenon, but there are things we can do to slow that down and to minimize that. Okay. So, all right. So think about, here's a couple of visuals I'm going to bring up for you. Think about, there's two things you can think about. The free radicals going around, it's sort of like if you take an apple and you slice it. Well, it's nice and fresh and white inside. Regardless of what color the outside is, it's really nice and fresh looking on the inside. Now, you only eat half the apple, you walk away, you come back a couple hours later or forget about it. The next day you look in the fridge and you're like, oh my gosh, it's all brown, right? It's starting to get brown. That is oxidation. Okay, so it's starting to break the apple down, right? Because nobody wants to eat the brown stuff. It's soft and mushy. We cut that off, right? Then we have the fresh apple again. That's what's happening inside your body. Think about your apple like the cells. As the free radicals start to go, the faster they go, the faster the browning happens. Now, what happens if we take that same apple and we put some lemon juice on it? When we put the lemon juice on, and then we go back later or even the next day, that apple is still pretty white, right? It won't stop it forever, but it slows down that process considerably, right? You can visually see that it's definitely much better than it was if you don't put the lemon juice on, right? So when we can remove the inflammation, slow down the free radicals, we can increase our antioxidant levels in our body. That will help to knock back the inflammation. And that's kind of like putting the lemon juice on your cells. Okay. Now, the other thing, and I'm just going to bring that up here for a second. Hang on one. Here we go. So if we take a peek at this, right? Taking a peek at this apple here, there's the side, you cut it, you eat it fresh on the right, you come back later and it's all brown, right? Oxidation, same as your cells. When the free radicals start going on, it starts degrading and breaking down. And if you leave it, what happens if we never put the lemon juice on the apple? That sure breaks down really quickly, right? It's going to get all soft and mushy, and then it's going to just be, broken down and squishy, and nobody wants to eat it. Same thing that happens in our cells. It's going to keep breaking it down until that cell dies. And the more inflammation, the more free radicals that we allow or try, we don't take care of, and they keep proliferating, the faster that's going to happen. So like we talked about, you put the lemon juice on and it's going to stay white for quite a bit longer. It's going to stay fresh. Well, when we can stop those free radicals, or at least slow them down, we can't stop them completely, like I said, but when we can slow them down, then we can keep our cells a little bit healthier, and we can keep them from going mushy a lot faster. Now, the other thing that happens, I'm going to grab just another picture here for you because I got some visuals today. I love that. All right. So now, and think about, we talked about a few minutes ago about, when your blood sugar spikes, and then it's like that ball is trying to pop up, or there's a fire alarm, the 4-alarm fire is going off. Your body's like, oh my gosh, it's way up here. And then, the fire hose needs to come and put it out. Insulin tries to make it come down. The more often you do that, the fire is a good analogy. And think about it this way, like toast. All right, kind of same as the apple. We're toasting. So the longer you keep that, so the aging is like toasting. Okay. And as we're born, our bones are nice and white on the inside, like the apple. And if we die of a ripe old age, our bones are almost black. So when we die, the toast is like burnt, right? If you're doing a toast analogy, the toast is burnt or the apple is rotten or however you want to look at it, right? So here's the toast. Hang on. There we go. So here's the toast, right? Happy when our bones are kind of whitish and we're still young and strong. And then, but what happens if our bones, if we didn't die of a ripe old age, but our bones started to get like this and they were very toasty and you still had many more years to go, so you thought, right? You're toasting. It's not so great, right? Not something we want to do. We don't want to speed up that process. We want to slow down that process. So when we die, the toast is burnt. But every time we glycate, spike the blood sugar, we're toasting in our own bodies. We're getting those bones more overdone. We're making the cells more brown like the apple. We are making ourselves age faster. So when we're not balancing our blood sugar every day, now when you think about that, it's kind of an urgent thing, right? If we can balance our blood sugar and live in that, in that cruise control zone, in that zone where your metabolism's turned on, right? If we can live there, then we are preventing those blood sugar spikes, which means we're not having a 4-alarm fire, which means that there's no beach ball trying to pop out of the water all the time. We're nice floating on the top. We're driving in cruise control. Everything is working well and balanced together. Did we get rid of all of the free radicals? No. But we sure did put a good amount of lemon juice on there. We sure did unplug that toaster for the time being, right? We sure slowed it down quite a bit. And in the process, we've turned on our metabolism so your body's able to release stored fat naturally, protect that lean muscle because we need that as we grow older, right? And reduce the cravings, increase your energy, and your body is so much more balanced. It's working for you. You're not fighting against it to try and get some results. It's actually going to give you the results that you want. So we've lowered the inflammation. We have lowered our risk of disease. We have effectively, slowed down the aging process if we continue to do this in balance. We've helped to bolster our immune system. We've helped our digestion. We've helped our energy, which means now we are able to function better with our families when we come home from a long day at work. Now maybe we have some more energy rather than just crashing on the couch after dinner. Maybe you've got some still left in the tank. You can go out and play with your kids in the yard, or take your wife out for a walk, or go visit the neighbors or something like that. Start a hobby. So all of these things, just because we've learned to put our food together in a certain way. And so all of those things together, and we talked about the burnt toast and what happens. And so today's topic is about what happens when you ignore those things. What does the burnt toast or the brown apple look like in real life, right? What does that look like in real life? Well, if you saw my reel the other day, it's actually quite alarming. Because there was a gentleman that had been referred to me from his optometrist because she was seeing that he had diabetes. She could see that in his eye cross section. And I was just there recently, and she has this new machine, and she got, she showed me, I wish I could, I don't have those pictures on my laptop here, but it was very cool. And she said, oh, you have a really nice straight line there, it's all even. And I said, oh, so what would it look like if it's an unhealthy eye, if it's not supposed to be that way? She goes, oh, there would be, it would be uneven, or there'd be pitted marks in it, or perhaps you would have like red spots if it was, diabetes, things like that. So they can actually tell by looking in to your eye and seeing where it's at. So anyway, one of her patients had she could really see a lot of these things happening, and his vision had been affected. He had had surgery prior. He wasn't doing well with his vision. He has, was diagnosed with diabetes several years ago. Anyway, so she referred him to me because we got talking about blood sugar stabilization. And I said, that's what I teach. I do work a lot with diabetics. I worked a lot with pre-diabetics and people with various diseases and all of that. So she referred him to me. We had a consult. And, he was sharing with me things about even several years ago when he had gone to the doctor. He was in denial. He didn't want to know that he had diabetes, even though he was feeling some tingling on the bottoms of his feet. He had issues with standing one time, and then that kind of went away. He did go and try an experiment on himself where he eliminated all processed foods and all sugar. And I said to him, and he didn't know anything about balancing, so he wasn't balancing, but he just eliminated some things that he thought might be harmful to him. And I said, so what happened? He said, oh, I felt so much better. And I said, so why did you stop? And he said, well, I committed to doing it for a month, and I did it for a month and I stopped. So he didn't have a plan that was going to help him to continue that. And he just, thought, okay, well, I don't know. I don't really know what else to do now. But, clearly he didn't have a good strategy because it wasn't a sustainable way he was doing this, even though he did feel better. So fast forward several years, he's been ignoring the diagnosis of diabetes. He's been ignoring the health issues that had shown up. And he's lost vision in one eye. He has had surgery on that eye. He's having cataract surgery coming up on the other eye. Or on both eyes, actually, even though the other one doesn't see very well. They're going to do both, hoping that's going to help him a little bit. He's been in and out of the hospital a few times. And when I went to check back in with him, as I promised to do, he was in the hospital at that point. He answered his phone, but he's in the hospital. And tomorrow, actually, he's now scheduled for surgery. He said he woke up that morning and he couldn't stand. He couldn't put weight on the one foot. So I'm not sure how he got himself to the hospital, but he got himself to the hospital. Oh, and his toe, his big toe was black. So he was very concerned. And so he didn't quite know, but he was having surgery on Thursday, tomorrow. So I'm not quite sure if they're going to amputate the toe or what's happening, but he, and so he's wanted to lose a bit of weight. And he's not even, extremely overweight. He's got some weight to lose. But you'd think for all of these major issues that he's having, that, he might be morbidly obese or something, and he's not. The thing is, he's just not been paying attention to the signs and to the symptoms. He's been letting the free radicals have free reign. The apple is getting very, very brown. The toast is burning. And he's now at that point where, and he's 57. So he's now at that point where, he's trying to think, how is he going to continue to support himself? How is he going to be able to live, because he's been very sick, So I just wanted to, I don't want to be very depressing. I just wanted to bring this out here and let people know that we can't ignore the signs and symptoms that our body's giving us. If we are experiencing an illness or a sickness, a discomfort in your body, some sort of disruption in the way your body functions in any of the systems that your body has. So maybe there's constipation, maybe there's diarrhea, maybe there's acid reflux, maybe there's an autoimmune challenge, a skin challenge. Maybe sleep has been an issue. Maybe your blood sugars are off. Maybe you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. There's so many things that sometimes we think, oh, that's just because I'm getting older. Now, there's two ways to think about that. It's not necessarily the number of candles on your cake that is going to predispose you to certain things. It's the number of years that you've been doing or not doing the things that would have been serving your body. Okay. So those small things consistently over time yield huge results. So yeah, because he's X number of age, this happened at that age, but it didn't happen because he's 57. I mean, I know multiple people who are well into their 70s, 80s, who don't have anywhere near those challenges, but they didn't ignore when those challenges showed up either. They addressed them. They made healthy changes, healthy lifestyle changes. Some of them may have had medications, but the ones who had the most success then looked to healthy lifestyle alternatives, ways to balance their proteins, fats, and carbs and live healthfully that way, so that they could avoid the toasting and the apple going brown and the free radicals. They could bring down their inflammation. They learned how to fill their nutritional gaps. So they were addressing what all of these things that all of you know. Well, maybe not all of you if you're new, but they're addressing the things that are important. The six components of health, our 6 plates, right? Our nutrition, exercise, sleep, water, stress, and supplements. All of these things. It's not just food is our foundation. It's what we put in. It's super important. And we have to know all of these. We have to know that these come alongside to support that. And we need to make sure that we are paying attention to when something is off in any of those. And then we can address that. You know, you see them up there on the sticks, right? If the guy's got them at the circus and they're spinning, everything's really great. What happens if one of the plates is off? Well, if you don't address it, it comes crashing down and it probably knocks other plates down as it's coming, right? But if we can just get back up underneath that and get it going again, we have a big, beautiful show. And then you can stop that and take that down when you want, right? Because then you know you're in control. And so that's what we want to be as we age. We want to age well. We want to live longer, stronger, better, healthier, more exciting, more vibrant lives, not just live longer and be sicker. Okay, so that's what I wanted to touch on today, was letting you know there are some real consequences out there to ignoring those signs and signals of diabetes. You know, so if you're pre-diabetic, if you are diabetic, if you know you have some blood sugar issues, or you're kind of sensitive to that, I would really, really encourage you. Same with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, hypertension, all of those kinds of things. I would really strongly encourage you to get a handle on that and start doing your 1%. So pick one of those 6 plates. What can I do today? Maybe you didn't have breakfast this morning and your blood sugar has been crashing all morning. Okay, so tomorrow your 1% is going to be breakfast. Okay, maybe you're super busy and you're like, oh my gosh, I know I should have eaten something, but I really didn't have the time. All right, invest in that good quality protein shake and make a couple of those on the night before. Stick them in your thermos bottles. If you work from home, you can just go grab it. If you work somewhere else, you can grab it on the way out the door, and you're doing something better for your body. Maybe you should drink more water, but you haven't. Okay, get a water bottle that you love, fill it up, and drink a couple of those a day, making sure that you're getting hydrated. You've been sitting at your desk too long, you've got a sedentary job, maybe put little alarms on your phone, or when you get home from work, walk around the block before you go in the house. Or if you work from home, make sure that you schedule some movement breaks for yourself. Run up and down the stairs if you're inside. Go out and walk to the end of the block and come back just to get some fresh air and clear your mind. So you're getting these ideas, right? It doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be something fancy or complicated. Just don't ignore those signs and symptoms when they come up. Address them and take control of your health, because the health, you have 80%, at least 80% control over the outcome of your health. So what you do matters. Today, it doesn't matter where you are in your health journey. It doesn't matter, if it looks pretty bleak or if it looks pretty awesome. Wherever you are, we can all do 1% better today than we did yesterday, and we can commit to that. So just commit to the 1% and see where it takes you. And so I hope that was helpful for you today. If that was, if there's someone that that needs this, please let them know about it, because we really want to help everybody here live longer, stronger, better lives, and just live with food freedom and age well. So, all right, you guys, have a happy rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in today on Fit Nutrition Podcast. Come back next week for more exciting and fun topics that I hope are relevant to you. If you've got some questions, please drop them down in the chat. I will come back and take a look. If you've got a topic that you'd like me to cover, also please put that in the chat. I would love to hear your thoughts. So have a great day, everyone. Thanks again.